Final Destination is one of my personal favourite film franchises of all time, really. I've been watching them and rewatching them ever since I was a kid. I literally was like prepubescent the first time I watched one of these movies, so it's always held a special place in my heart. But recently I thought to myself, what is the worst Final Destination death? And that is not an easy question to answer because of all of the creative and painful ways people have died on screen in the franchise. Well, never fear folks, I have the answer for you today. Because with my gigantic frontal lobe and problem solving skills, I have come up with the equation to definitively answer this question without a shadow of a doubt. I'm sure not a single person is going to get annoyed or disagree with me, right? And as you can see here, I have a plethora of notes for this recording, but I thought it'd be fun if we played a little bit of a game. You're going to go through the same process that I went through for the last 2.5 hours, and we're going to go through some of the most iconic, painful, creative, just worst ways you could possibly die that have been shown in the franchise. And the way we are going to decide the winner is based off of these 6 factors: build up, death, panic, pain, hope, and fear. For build up, I'm sure you know about the Final Destination franchise if you're watching this, but the main bread and butter when it comes to Final Destination is the build up to the eventual death. We're going to be taking that stuff into account. We're going to be taking the anxiety that us as the viewer feels while watching it, and just how effective it is into building up the eventual kill. When it comes to the death, it's pretty self-explanatory. When it comes to panic, I'm talking about the actual character themselves. We're putting ourselves in the character's shoes. Now for pain, also pretty self-explanatory. And then we have hope, which I'm pretty sure a lot of you are confused about right now. There are some deaths in Final Destination where the character has a little glimmer of hope, just a smidge. For example, something that could get you out of this sticky situation is literally a centimeter away from the character and they just can't grab it. They just can't reach it. And for fear, there are 2 things to come into account for this. Number 1 is the fear that the actual character is feeling in the scene, or what you would be feeling if you were in the scene. And the next thing that comes into account is how common people are afraid of the thing that, you know, kills the character. You know, maybe you're afraid of like stuff touching your eyes, so you wouldn't be a fan of, you know, the laser eye surgery scene, stuff like that, you know? Now, with that out of the way, let's get my notes out here real quick. Actually, I should probably mention this. Sorry about my voice. I sound like I'm going through puberty at 25 years of age. I don't know what's going on. I'm sick, but usually when I'm sick, my voice doesn't go. My voice never goes. So this is very strange for me. This is a fear that I have as well, and I'm sure a lot of you watching this already have this fear. I might actually have gotten it from Final Destination, and that is Nora from Final Destination 2 in a death that I like to call the elevator decapitation. Very, very nasty scene. Now for the build up, I think it's kind of weak, especially in comparison to everything else on this list. There's an old man in there with like a box full of like hook hands for whatever reason, and he just like kind of leans forward and sniffs her hair, which was kind of weird, but other than that, like not much else. The only thing that happens is the policeman calls Nora, who was already in the elevator at the time, and he tells her, "You are going to die to a man with hook hands." But terrible timing, champ. The hook man is behind her. As she goes to stand up, the hook grabs onto her hair, and in a panic, she turns around and walks out of the elevator in an attempt to get the hook out of her hair. But this elevator must not have been up to code, because as soon as that woman stepped out and her head was the only thing slightly in the elevator, them doors closed faster than I've ever seen an elevator close. She is stuck in this elevator that is starting to go up a floor while she is screaming for help. The old man and the fellow survivor in the elevator are trying to help her. A few of the other survivors in a panic come down to see if she's okay, only to see her dangling from the elevator shaft by her neck. They run to try and help, but unfortunately for Nora, it seems that these guys don't even have the strength to blow out their own birthday candles, because 4 people pulling on an elevator and not one of you's got it at least a centimeter open. Unfortunately, all of the savior attempts were in vain, because she eventually gets her head cut clean off by the elevator. This is a fucking nightmare. So, what is this like on the pain scale, we might ask? If it was just a clean, single, you know, cut decapitation, I would say no pain. But there are 2 things that happen just before she gets decapitated that make me believe that this was fucking excruciating, man. As the elevator gets closer and closer to the point that would cut her head off, the elevator stops just as it starts to choke her on the side. Then the elevator does a little like little shimmy and cuts into her neck a little bit. You can tell this by the fact there is blood coming out of her fucking throat. So it crushes the sides of her neck twice before it cuts her head off. And there is like a few second span in between there. That sounds fucking excruciating. But yeah, that's my argument for why I think that is, it's probably one of the most painful, honestly, especially like for me. I think that's like a nightmare for me. Now, panic. This one has this one like on lock. She is panicking like a fucking madman because the shots keep like swapping and changing between inside the elevator where you can see her head and outside the elevator where you can see her fucking the rest of her. Not only that, when we cut to shots of outside the elevator, you see her legs flailing like a fucking madman. And on top of that, while she is still in panic, she scrapes her fingernails on the outside of the elevator, which was not very appreciated from your boy, I'll give you that much. Now, for hope, she has no hope. There was not a single bit of hope of her being freed. And fear, fuck yeah, man. Like, this one, I might be biased on this one. This one kind of takes the cake for me with fear factor. This is not a way I would want to go out. Not only because my ass would be on display as my head's being cut off, but because it's just nightmare fuel to me. It's been 2 days since I recorded the first part of this video and somehow I feel worse. But I have had a doozy while starting to record this part because literally just before I started recording, I threw my G Fuel all over my fucking setup. For some reason, when I turned around to take a sip of my G Fuel, I shook the water out of muscle memory and the lid was open, so it went everywhere. And when I say everything, I mean everything. All over my monitor, all over my PS5, PC, fucking microphone, mouse, fucking keyboard, one monitor, and all over my fucking mouse pad and my chair and me. Oh my god, I'm furious. What a great way to start the day. Anyway, folks, let's get back on with the video. Now, the next one I have on the list is a bit of a controversial one for some. It will be anyway. And that is Frankie's death from Final Destination 3. Death by engine propeller, which I didn't even know engines had propellers. Now, the reason I was hesitant on putting this on the list is the actual death itself. It's very hit or miss whether it would hurt or not, because the engine goes into the back of this man's head. And don't get me wrong, it is a sick death. Like, I would not want to die that way in the slightest, but when it comes to the actual death, I was thinking like the most painful type of death, right? So like it's hit or miss here because it's hard to tell whether you would be killed instantly or if he would at least feel, you know, like the first few layers of the back of his head disintegrating basically. And there's also the variable of like the engine hitting him in the back of the head could have killed him instantly as well, so it might not have been that painful, but I'm going to keep going on this under the assumption that he felt at least a few seconds of the pain before he died. And considering what type of way he died, it's not the most ideal few seconds in the world. Exactly what my ex said to me, but anywho. But the main reason I did put it on the list is because of the build-up. The build-up was very fucking strong. So our main character and our main character's boyfriend, I really can't remember the names of Final Destination 3 characters for some reason, but they're in a fast food drive-thru trying to go over the premonition and try to figure out who is next in line to die. And as they pull up to the window to order their food, our main character notices the menu glitching, followed by the radio not working properly. And while they're still focused on the radio, a truck starts backing up into the passenger side door of the car. Luckily, the truck stops before, you know, it crushes the car. The radio starts glitching once again, and it starts playing a very creepy song given the context.
There is someone walking behind you.
There is someone walking behind you. Now, after being given a very generous warning from Death himself, they turn around to see, further up the road, a rogue truck flying down the hill with the driver of said truck chasing it not far behind, trying to get back to his van. A character starts frantically panicking. He starts beeping the horn at the obnoxious fucker in the front, and he hits them with a bit of sign language. They try to get out of the car, but they realize that because of the truck, they are locked in on both sides. Now, if you didn't know, in this situation, each person that is in the line for the drive-thru is a survivor of the premonition, meaning Death was going for a multi-kill. Luckily enough for the people in the car behind, the fucking driver is an absolute G, because he notices the truck hurling towards them with barely any time to react to it, and my man pops the car in reverse and escapes narrowly. Our main characters kick the windshield of the car to get out, and they very, very narrowly escape getting hit. But the impact of the truck hitting into their car causes the engine propeller to fly out the front of the car, smacking Frankie in the back of the head. The propeller of the engine is still spinning, so it grinds my man's brains up. I love this death. It is so cool, and the misdirections and who you think is going to get killed is skewed multiple times throughout the scene. So for the audience and for the characters themselves, it was a bit of a shock to find out that the person that was next was Frankie. The death was gruesome, it was quick, and the victim was unexpected, and the build-up was just immaculate. I really liked the build-up of this scene. Even though the death was kind of like, you know, quick, I still think it deserves a spot on this list because of all the other things leading up to it, you know? Pain, extremely high. But again, as I said, it also depends if he died instantly or not, so I guess that's up for debate. Panic? None. Literally had no idea. For hope? None. Again, same thing. My man was sitting there waiting for his fucking Big Mac, thinking he was going to have a nice munch, and boom, the back of his cranium has blown up all of a sudden. Now for fear, the character himself, no fear. Again, no idea it was coming his way. But for like a general fear, I'd still have to say no. I don't think people really have much of a fear of an engine propeller hitting them in the back of the head. But saying that, it's also not a way I would choose to die. Now, okay, this next one may or may not be the most uncomfortable death I've seen in any of these movies, honestly. And it is the death of Hunt from Final Destination 4 that I have dubbed the human anal cavity bong. I'm proud of that one. And now in Final Destination 4, this guy is the character that is very, you know, like pushes it off. It's like, ah no, death's not coming for us. If death is coming for us, I'm going to go get some pussy, basically, is what he says. So after Hunt finishes his pipe session at the local swimming pool for some reason, he walks by the pool where a kid starts squirting him with a water gun, and funnily enough, he ends up popping the little kid's floaty, flipping him headfirst into the water and taking his water gun. Pretty funny if you do ask me. So after Hunt gets the water gun, he puts it over a fence into what I can only believe is like a storage area. But actually turns out he puts the water gun on top of like a circuit breaker or something, and it falls off and hits the lever that drains the pool. You see this like water tanker bubbling up, which I'm assuming is where the water goes after it's drained, and we see that it is starting to get very, very full, meaning that the pressure of the water being sucked out is going to be quite high. We cut back to our main man Hunt, who was just chilling by the pool getting some sun in, and earlier in the movie we found out that he has a lucky coin, which is what he is spinning around in his hand in this scene. But out of nowhere, a football comes and hits the coin out of Hunt's hand, which ends up going into the pool. Hunt dives into the water, but unbeknownst to him, the coin went down the drain, and as he is at the bottom of the pool looking for it, he gets suction cupped by his asshole to the fucking drain pipe, and the most uncomfortably long fucking scene I've ever seen. We see him struggling to try get out, but because his asshole is blocking the water from fucking coming out, the water drainage system is trying to suck even harder to get the water out. I don't know the logistics of it, but it basically ends up with this man getting his entire insides sucked out through his asshole into this fucking water drain pipe. It's fucking horrific to watch. But even when like you're watching it and like the details of like as he starts to get everything sucked out, his fucking stomach gets sucked in and stuff, just, oh no, it's nasty. It's just nasty. Pain, that need I say more? Excruciating and long. I think this would be probably the most painful fucking death ever, in all honesty. You are alive until your entire insides are sucked out from your asshole. Think about that. Panic, very high because he had a lot of time to sit there and like think about where he is in life at this point. Obviously he's underwater as well, so you have that like panic of drowning that people get when they accidentally breathe in some water. And then obviously the pain itself would make you panic a bit more, and then once you realize your intestines are being sucked out, I'm sure the panic would be at its peak. For hope, I have none. There was literally no sign of him escaping that. And for fear, I say not a lot of people have this fear, but a lot of them had it after this movie. This is like one of those things like in the Final Destination movies where it's like, never have I thought of anybody dying in this way, but now that I've seen it, I'm never going to a swimming pool again. Now we're on to Final Destination 5 with the death of Candice, which I have dubbed the gymnastic deck chair. Now I have a lot of notes here for the build-up because it is probably the most anxiety-inducing build-up in any fucking death in this franchise. We start with Candice at her gymnastics competition, and she's getting egged on by her boyfriend on the sidelines. And the producers of this movie did not want you to go a single second without feeling like you were about to throw up, because she gets up onto the balancing beam, to start her performance. And while that is happening, we get multiple shots of multiple different things that could be the cause of this woman's demise. We have water dripping from a pipe in the ceiling, which is landing very dangerously close to a fucking electrical socket. And fun little fact, if you didn't know, on that socket, if you look very closely, it kind of looks like a skull, which I thought was a cool detail. And then we got a shot of a fan up on top of the ceiling that is shaking like crazy. And because of this, one of the nails keeping it in place falls from the roof, and I shit you not, lands on the balancing beam. And we get an uncomfortably long scene of this woman doing her gymnastics on this balancing beam while narrowly escaping stepping on a fucking nail. But like the amount of times she was just stupidly close to that nail, even when like she done like a cartwheel and she put her hands down, she was so stupidly close to it. But luckily enough, she finishes her performance and does a cool little flip off of the balancing beam. And the relief I felt after this scene was unfucking believable, but not for long. Not for fucking long at all. After she does a performance, she's standing there, you know, with her towel wiping her sweat down while the puddle, filled with electricity by the way, is making her way to her tootsies. And it gets really close, but she drops the towel just in time, soaking up all of the water before it gets to her. Now Candice makes her way to her next station, which is the gymnastic bars. I don't know the actual names for them. While another one of the contestants goes over to the balancing beam. We see Candice doing some cool flips and shit. Anyone out there who's a gymnast, I have high respect for you. Crazy shit. While Candice is doing her flippy flops from bar to bar, we get a close-up of one of the pins holding the bar in place, which is making us believe that that is going to be the cause of her demise. But the entire time in the background, you can see the other girl doing her performance on the beam. But this girl was not so lucky, because as she is mid-flip, she lands sole first onto this nail, which goes straight up into her foot, falls off the beam in a panic, which knocks over the chalk, which then goes into the fan, which blows the chalk into Candice's face while she's mid-flip. She lets go mid-air, flipping onto her neck, which then folds her in half. Yeah, this one was rough. Now for pain, extremely high, because the likelihood of her like dying instantly after hitting the ground, I don't think is very high. Yeah, maybe if she like landed on her neck more, but it kind of made it look like she landed more on her chest, which then caused the back side of her, or bottom half of her body, to fold in on itself. I don't know why I'm explaining it in such detail. Like, just look at this picture. If you are ever in a situation where your legs end up snapped over your back to the point that you're able to lick the back of your knees, I don't think you're in a good situation, chap. Now for panic, I think this is like a hit or miss type of thing, because it happened so fast that it makes me believe that she didn't have much of panic. But at the same time, if you were in her situation, like, she would have been able to feel her like hands let go of the pole. So I do feel like she had that like panic of like, oh fuck, I done fucked up type of thing, but like not as much compared to the other ones on the list. Hope, none. Like, look at her. I don't think there's anyone in the world that could fix that. I have written here for fear, extremely high. No one wants to identify as a deck chair. Yes, true. But this one is one that takes the fucking cake for something that plays on my fears. And that is the death of Olivia in Final Destination 5, which I like to call an eye for an eye. For build up here, I have nightmare fuel, because it fucking is. We've all had that fear of going into a dentist and something going wrong. This takes that idea, does a kickflip with it, throws it across the fucking room, and then takes like at least 12 shits on the fucking thing. Because now, looking back on this scene, I don't think this woman was scared enough. Because Olivia has to go to the opticians to get laser eye surgery. I'm pretty sure you know where this is going. And she is terrified. We know this straight away when she walks in, because she's very shaky. She asks if she could have a teddy for comfort, which the doctor obliges, and they get right to it. She's lying down, hugging the teddy, squeezing the shit out of it, I might add. So we can feel her anxiety about the situation from the get-go, but it's made even worse when you see that the man clamps her head into place so she can't move. He puts an eye drop in her eye, which for me personally is fucking nightmare fuel in itself. I hate getting stuff put in my eyes. And not only was it the eye drops, folks, this motherfucker clamps her eyeball open. And oh my god, it looks so sore. We get a close-up of the eye, which only adds to the anxiety of the situation, followed by her squeezing her teddy so tight that the eyeball pops off, which not a good omen, definitely not good. And just as he has everything set up, he realizes that he is missing some paperwork. Of course he is. But just as soon as she is alone and the doctor has left, the water tank starts bubbling, which causes a glass of water that is on top of it to fall over and drench a plug socket. After this happens, we see a caution sign saying that this machine should not go over 5 megawatts, and instantly we start seeing the power go above 5 megawatts, accompanied by this beeping sound in the background that just keeps getting faster and faster and louder, which is just adding to our intensity as well. Olivia starts panicking, so she tries to reach over to grab the button that turns on the machine, and it is just out of reach, and unfortunately causes the button to fall face down, starting the machine. The machine starts burning away at her corneas. Like, it is a tough watch, man. She is screaming, she is panicking, and the worst of all, she can't even close her fucking eye. So she has to put her hand in front of the laser, which causes it to burn her hand as well. During the little break of the laser, she rips out the eye clamp, undoes her head clamp, which lets her get out of the chair, and then the doctor runs into the room to see what all the screaming is about, only to see Olivia standing there with one eye, screaming for help, asking him to help her, and just in that moment, she slips on the teddy bear's eye, causing her to fall out the window a couple stories onto a car. The pain, unimaginable. Panic, extremely high. She was already scared of the opticians going in, and then everything else that happened after that just fucking added to it. Hope? She had two little instances of hope. One was when she was reaching for the button that was just out of reach, which would have gave her a little bit of hope. And the second is when she just gets out of the chair. Yeah, given she was in pain, but at the same time, at least she wasn't dead yet. So that was a little bit of hope that was soon ripped away from under us. And fear, extremely high. I personally hate stuff when it comes to eyes, and I know a lot of people do too. I don't like anything going near my eye. I don't like seeing anything go near anyone's eye. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like it, and this scene amplified it. It was so bad. Now, I just want to throw this one in here quickly before I get on to Bloodlines, which I believe thoroughly has one of the most excruciating deaths I've ever fucking seen. But this is Final Destination 3, the death of Ashley and Ashlyn, which I like to call the tanning bed cookout. This is a classic death in the franchise. Everyone knows this one. This is a very memorable one for me too. But basically it starts with them walking in with a fucking slushie, which they're not allowed to have in the tanning rooms. She places her drink on a shelf before going over to rummage through the CDs to find a song to listen to. And while she does that, she accidentally knocks the shelf that she was leaning on loose. And when they get into the tanning beds, all is well for a few seconds at least. But unbeknownst to them, the slushie that they just brought in is going to be the death of them, because it drips onto the power fucking box thing, causing it to malfunction and go up in temperature, exceeding like the actual recommended amount. One of them notices that it's getting a little bit hot inside the tanning bed, but at the same time she just kind of brushes it off like nothing's going on. But one of the girls finally realizes, nah, it's getting too hot in here, I am getting out of this bitch. But as she goes to open the door, the fan then blows the plant, which then falls and knocks down the shelf, which then perfectly lands right on the two tanning beds, locking them in place basically. And this is when the fun begins. They start screaming, the glass in the fucking tanning beds breaks, and they catch on fire and quite literally just burn to a crisp. I just wanted to put it in here really quick because like it is a very painful death, 100%, so I have to give it that. Pain off the charts, 100%. Panic, extreme, especially when they realized that they were locked in the fucking things. Hope, I put none, but now looking back on it, I guess there is a little bit of hope when one of the girls first had the thought of like, oh, it's getting a bit hot in here. If she just got out then, they would have been okay. Fear, I put very high because there are multiple fear factors going into this one. One, we have a fear of tanning beds, which is something that I didn't know about until very recently. And then two, we have burning to death, which is my personal one that I would not want in the slightest. And now we're on to the newest installment, Final Destination Bloodlines. This is gonna be a good one. I don't even need the notes for this one because this one's in my brain, full stop. We cut to Eric and the gang in the hospital, and at this point, they have all learned the ways that they can escape death. It's either take a life and you get the time that they have left, or die and somehow be brought back to life. And the next on the list at this point is Eric's younger brother Bobby, and they have this master plan to make Bobby like have an allergic reaction to peanuts, die, and then Eric will bring him back to life somehow. That's the plan anyway. They make their way into an MRI machine room and they basically start executing their plan. They give Bobby the peanut butter cup, which causes him to have the allergic reaction, but something happens that causes the MRI machine's power to go above the recommended amount. There seems to be a pattern here. So Bobby is having the allergic reaction, Eric has his EpiPen in his hand, but it's at this point where shit goes very fucking sideways, because not only did I not know that an MRI machine had this function, it's also pretty unlucky for our boy Bobby here, and Eric, we'll soon find out, because apparently after an MRI machine is bumped way beyond what it's supposed to be, it turns into a very fucking strong magnet, and our boy Eric is a walking pincushion at this point. So as Eric is standing there waiting for his brother to pass away peacefully, EpiPen in his hand gets sucked to the MRI machine, which makes him turn around in confusion, which then causes the MRI machine to rip out every piercing this man has. Rips out his nose piercing, rips out his lip piercings, rips out his nipple piercings, and last but certainly not least, his cock piercing. His Prince Albert, if you will. However, it doesn't get ripped out. It starts pulling him towards the machine, and while he is being pulled towards this machine, a wheelchair gets sucked to it as well, which hits Eric in the back, causing him to get stuck in the little opening by his crotch. And what unfolds is the most painful looking death I've ever fucking seen. The wheelchair keeps getting sucked into the machine, but unfortunately, Eric is in between the machine and the fucking wheelchair. So Eric's back snaps and he slowly but surely bends like a pretzel in half as the wheelchair is slowly but surely sucked through the machine until Eric is folded fully in half and we see the other side of the fucking machine, which shows that the wheelchair itself actually got fucking stabbed through this man's whole body as he was being snapped in half. It is I have no words. It is gruesome. It is painful. The practical effects done was fucking stellar. Now for the pain, I don't have it on a list here, but they're fucking excruciating. Probably the most painful on the list. Panic, very much a lot of it. Well, he doesn't seem like he's having a lot of panic in the scene, but I feel like he's more focused on the fact that his spinal cord is being severed. Hope, he has none. No hope whatsoever. And fear? Fuck yeah. Need I say more? Who wants to be folded backwards in half till you are literally sniffing your fucking ankles? Like, that's not, no, thank you. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. The definitive worst death in Final Destination. Don't shout at me, it's my opinion, and I have my reasonings for them. I truly believe that Eric's death would be the worst death that you could possibly get in the franchise. Easily. Yes, the eye surgery is painful, and yeah, I personally do have a fear when it comes to that, but the actual death that happened was not the cause of the eye surgery machine. It was because she slipped out the window, which would have killed her instantly when she hit the ground. But with Eric, this man was alive for at least most of the time he was getting fucking folded in half. I'm pretty sure he was alive until the point that the metal from the wheelchair started stabbing through his fucking body. You know, just in terms of how fucking painful it would be, not only having your back snapped and just being folded back in half, ripping all of your ligaments and everything like that. It's also added with the fact of the pain of the fucking metal going through the man, along with every fucking thing that happened before that, with all of the piercings being like pulled out of his face. There was no hope for him whatsoever. There was not even a glimmer. So there you have it, folks. What's your thoughts? Do you agree with me? Do you not? And if not, let me know what death you think is the worst in the franchise that you personally would want to avoid at all costs. Because everyone has their own fears, everyone has their own thing that gives them the heebie-jeebies. But even with that all said, I put my biases aside. I completely got rid of the two deaths that I personally would want to avoid with all costs, because I genuinely believe that that one there is the most all-round worst one you could get. Simple. This is going to be a long editing process. I've literally been recording for 3 hours doing this. But with that said, folks, I hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below just thought of the video. Comment down below what you want to see in the next video. If you like my face and you want to see more, make sure to subscribe and click on the channel. Whole variety of content on there. But yeah, this is a little different than the stuff that I usually do. I just thought that I should give my 2 cents on this, and I just really wanted to talk about it after seeing, you know, the Bloodlines movie. But yeah, folks, I am sweating sack. I'm gonna have to go. But yeah, with that all said, it's been EXO, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one, folks.